Greater Los Angeles, California, during the 1980s. Thousands of people arrived here with hopes of being at the top of the Hollywood film and TV industry. These dreams of stardom were dangerous, though, because you had to be asleep to dream, and to be a pretty terrible actor if you slept through your auditions. This dreaming was also dangerous because for there to be someone better than all of the rest had to make do with being pretty shit at life and work. For every success story in LA, there was a sidewalk filled with the glass of broken dreams and human poo. Watch your step. I think a hobo with hepatitis was drinking from that bottle. For those who did not become actors, even though their stars had fallen short of the glitz of Hollywood and their souls felt lost, the landlord had not lost their number, and rent was still due on the first. With survival on their minds, those who could not do it in Hollywood ended up instead doing it in places like Studio City. Literally. Despite it all, these hopefuls had become actors after all. Instead of being in commercials with the Energizer Bunny, now they were effing on screen like the Energizer Bunny in the world's most predictable movies that made the world's most predictable money. Pornography, or pornos, if you're into shortening words, yeah? Cool. For some directors, filming the world's most beautiful people sticking themselves into each other and whatnot, gooing on each other continuously in large volumes, and being paid to do it, was enough. Others, like self-made director, editor, producer Rick Sloan, preferred to repeatedly stick themselves into puppets, often while attacking actors, sometimes even on film. Rick Sloan was one more soul in Los Angeles at this time, but he was not a lost one. He was one on a mission to scare and entertain people, but not by ejaculating on them, probably. It was with these thoughts and frame of mind that I found myself watching one of Rick Sloan's films, the 1986 sci-fi piece titled The Visitants. The Visitants, rather than being a name of a punk band that is likely to puke on stage and charge you $50 for the honor, was instead a film about an alien invasion that will take place on Halloween. This invasion is organized by two aliens who proclaim they are not French, but TV repairmen. Their plot can only be stopped by the high school boy who uncovers it, accurately played here by a man who may or may not have finished high school. As a movie, The Visitants splits itself between the laudable and the laughable. Parts of it are moments of impressive animated inspiration, leading to scenes with pleasant lighting, a fine soundtrack, and a sense of delirium that might be fun, or it might be radiation from a passing UFO. Other parts are bad monster suits, worse acting, exposed hands and puppets, bits ripped off from Saturday Night Live, and extremely long shots of people entering cars. There are also attempts at humor, most of which fall flat, but a few are surprisingly as ample as the movie's best acted character, the alieness, Exeter. Overall, the movie's content and subject matter contain nothing surprising. It's unclear if Rick wanted to pay homage to the sci-fi classics of the 1950s, or just wanted to borrow enough ideas from those films and jokes from Saturday Night Live to fill up a movie's worth of film time. This overall lack of direction and impact was causing me to dislike The Visitants. Rick Sloan is considered to be one of the world's worst directors. His films, depending on if they're puppet or non-puppet ones, are either near-universal jokes, hated, or are relatively unknown, and likely to stay that way. However, even knowing all this and having seen what I had seen, I could not call The Visitants a bad movie. Partly because that is too simple an opinion to arrive at, and partly because a feeling was preventing me from dismissing the film entirely. Letting it loose from my mental asylum, I realized this feeling was not nausea, but something else. It was familiarity. I realized I myself had made my own sci-fi movie like The Visitants, an independent sci-fi film about aliens visiting Earth, creatively titled UFO. I realized that if I had done what Rick has done, I'm no better than Mr. Sloan. What's more, I might even understand him. Similarities between our movies were very evident. Both of our films had an intro with animation that was as slick as it is short, likely due to the extreme cost and our likely tiny budgets. Both films were about a boy finding out about aliens and plots of human destruction, and both are now nearly completely forgotten, if they were ever really known. Rick Sloan and we had written, directed, edited, and funded our dreams and passions into reality. We had both spent long hours making something that very few people spent time watching. We both had tried. It was this sense of familiarity that made me identify with Rick. I wondered if Rick had the same passion that I did. Did he too consider ideas to be strange fires that create? Had he experienced the same frustrations I did while making movies? Did he have the same sense of gnawing failure that ate at me? When a film is finished, it can be a success, it can be a failure, and worse, it can be nothing at all. Whatever a movie is to be, sometimes the only thing a filmmaker can say about their work is that it exists. And sometimes, that should be enough. While I may not have been extremely entertained by The Visitants, I was now appreciative of the effort that went into making it. This no-budget 1980s sci-fi film is humble, self-made anarchy in a world of well-funded, crowdsourced, and frankly boring order. Many will tell you that Rick Sloan is talentless, a hack, someone who makes bad movies, someone who could never be more than that. But those same people cannot deny Rick Sloan has made films that are 100% his own. The Visitants remains a cinematic act that, if it says nothing else, does say Rick Sloan existed. In Greater LA, in your backyard with a neighbor maybe watching, in our lives, some of us will do anything to make it. He may not have made it, but at least for a time, on his own, Rick made it weird. One of planet Earth's magnificent monsters. And let's be honest, at least it ain't fucking hobgoblins.